Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at someone who just keeps winning goal after goal, milestone after milestone, and thought, what are they doing that I'm not? It's not always about talent. It's not always about timing. It's not even always about luck. The real difference lies in what they focus on. And today, I want to show you 5 specific things that, if you give them your attention, will make it nearly impossible not to crush your goals. But first, let me tell you a quick story. Let's be honest. Setting a goal is easy. You wake up one morning, you feel inspired, maybe you've seen something on social media or had a conversation that stirred something in you. You decide you want more, better health, financial freedom, deeper relationships, that big promotion, the dream business. And in that moment, the goal feels electric. You feel alive just thinking about it. But inspiration is like a spark. It burns hot for a moment, and then it fades. And when the spark fades, most people quit. Not because they didn't want it badly enough in that moment, but because they never truly understood why they wanted it in the first place. They were chasing a feeling, not a purpose. Every meaningful goal begins with a reason, a deeply personal, often emotional reason. But we forget that reason as soon as things get uncomfortable. We forget it when we wake up tired, when the results don't come fast enough, when we feel embarrassed, when we fail. The moment friction shows up, the mind begins to bargain. Do I really need this? Maybe now's not the right time. Maybe it's too hard, too much. And that's when people quit, not because they can't keep going, but because they lose sight of why they started. But look at the people who finish, the ones who persist when everything tells them to stop. They don't always have more talent. They don't always have better resources, but they do one thing differently. They anchor to their reason. Constantly. Think about someone training for a marathon. On day 1, they're excited. New shoes, new playlist, new routine. But day 23, it's raining, their knees hurt, and no one's cheering. What keeps them going? Isn't the thought of the finish line. It's the reason they started. Maybe they're running to honor someone they lost. Maybe they're proving something to themselves. That emotional anchor is what pulls them forward when their legs want to quit. Let's bring it closer to home. You say you want to lose 30 pounds. Why? Is it just about the number on the scale? Or is it because you want to play with your kids without getting winded? Because you want to feel confident in your own skin again? Because you want to live long enough to dance at your daughter's wedding? That's your why. And it's bigger than motivation. Or maybe you want to build a business, not just for money, but because you want freedom, because you want to provide a better life for your family, because someone told you that you'd never succeed and that fire never left you. That is your why. It's not the product, it's not the profits, it's the people, the possibility, the principle. It's easy to forget in the noise of everyday life, in the pressure to get results quickly, in the comparison trap of watching others on social media. But the people who win really win. Don't ask, what do I want? They ask, why does this matter so deeply to me that quitting isn't even an option? Because when motivation runs out, and I promise you it will, purpose is what takes the wheel. Discipline is born out of clarity, and clarity starts with asking yourself, why did I start? Why does it matter? Why must I finish? So I want you to do something simple but powerful. Write down your goal, and then write down why it matters. Not in vague terms. Be brutally honest with yourself. What's the real reason? The one that makes your throat tighten when you say it out loud. The one that scares you because it's so real. That's the why you need. Because if your why isn't strong enough, neither will be your will. But if your why is anchored in something that moves you, something that matters beyond this week or this month, you won't just start. You'll keep going, no matter what. We live in a culture that worships busyness. We glorify packed calendars and long to-do lists. We wear stress like a badge of honor. And somewhere along the way, we started to believe that doing more, juggling more balls, chasing more goals, keeping more plates spinning, meant we were doing better. But there's a dangerous lie hidden in that mindset. The lie is that multitasking leads to productivity, that splitting your focus is the key to success. In reality, it's the fastest route to burnout, to mediocrity, to unmet goals and unfinished dreams. Let's be clear. Multitasking isn't efficiency, it's division. And when you divide your focus, you divide your results. You can't give 100% to 3 things at once. You might think you're being productive, but what you're really doing is making 3 things worse instead of doing 1 thing well. There's a reason why the most effective people, leaders, athletes, artists, entrepreneurs, are obsessed with simplicity. They don't try to do everything. They choose the one thing that matters most and pour themselves into it with full intensity. Think about a lion. When it hunts, it doesn't scatter its energy chasing every animal it sees. It locks in on one target. It blocks everything else out. It commits. That focus isn't a coincidence. It's survival. The lion knows that in the wild, trying to chase everything guarantees you catch nothing. And yet we do the opposite. We chase 5 goals at once, we jump between tasks, we interrupt ourselves with emails, social media, text messages, distractions that feel urgent but pull us away from what really matters. Then we wonder why we're exhausted but no closer to our goals. The answer isn't doing more. The answer is doing less, better. There was a study from Stanford that proved what many of us already feel in our bones. Multitasking doesn't work. Researchers found that people who constantly switch between tasks are actually less productive, more distracted, and worse at filtering out irrelevant information than people who stay focused on one thing at a time. The human brain isn't designed to split attention across multiple tasks. What we think of as multitasking is really just rapid task switching. And that comes with a cognitive cost. Every switch drains your mental energy. Every distraction weakens your ability to focus the next time. But here's the good news. Focus is not a talent you're born with. It's a muscle you train. It's a discipline you build. You don't need to be naturally gifted at concentration. You just need to make a decision. You need to decide what matters most and then eliminate everything that gets in the way of it. That might mean saying no more often. It might mean disappointing people. It might mean turning off notifications or stepping back from commitments that no longer serve your bigger purpose. But it's worth it because clarity creates momentum. And momentum is how goals are crushed. So ask yourself honestly, what's one thing you're holding on to right now that's pulling your attention away from what really matters? What can you drop, delegate, or delay? Not forever, but for now. Because success isn't about how many things you can juggle. It's about how completely you can commit to the thing that matters most right now. One thing at a time. One goal with full focus. That's how real progress happens. That's how goals become reality, not through hustle, but through clarity. Not through speed, but through depth. Everyone wants the results. Everyone wants the win, the breakthrough, the big moment. We love the idea of transformation. We picture the final scene. Standing on the stage, crossing the finish line, holding the product in our hands, seeing the number in our bank account, feeling the weight finally gone. But we don't realize that outcomes are just the visible tip of an invisible structure. It's easy to fall in love with the dreams. It's much harder to commit to the discipline it takes to make it real. The truth is, goals are never what gets you there. systems are. Think about it. Every person at the starting line of a marathon wants to finish. But only a few cross the line with strength, with endurance, with pride. The difference isn't in their desire, it's in their preparation. It's in what they did every single day for months before the race. The long runs when no one was watching. The meals they chose, the sleep they prioritized. The small, unglamorous habits they repeated again and again. The outcome was earned long before race day ever arrived. We've been taught to chase results, to focus on the prize, but results are lagging indicators of effort. You don't get to control the outcome directly. You control the system you build around it. If your system is broken, the result will always fall short, no matter how badly you want it. You want to write a book, great, but writing a book isn't a single act. It's the result of writing every day, even when the words feel clumsy. It's outlining, editing, rewriting, and showing up even when inspiration is nowhere to be found. If your system is sitting down at your desk at 8 a.m. every day and writing 500 words, the book becomes inevitable. You want to lose weight or get fit. The goal might be a number or a look or a feeling. But that goal won't get you out of bed in the morning. It won't push you through a hard workout. What will is the system you create, showing up at the gym 5 days a week, planning your meals in advance, tracking your sleep, choosing water instead of soda. These are the actions that build the outcome. Without them, all you have is a wish. Most people focus on the wrong question. They ask, how can I get this result? But the better question is, what kind of person gets that result, and how do they behave every single day? Because the results you're chasing already belong to someone living in a different rhythm than you are right now. If you want different outcomes, you need different systems. Think about a successful business. From the outside, we see the product, the revenue, the brand, but underneath all that are the systems, the processes for hiring, for serving customers, for innovating, for scaling. If those systems break down, the business suffers. If they stay strong, the business thrives. You don't need to obsess over the finish line. That doesn't mean you can't have ambition. It means your energy is better spent creating something you can actually control. A rhythm, a routine, a set of daily choices that over time build the result you want. And here's the beautiful part. When you focus on the system, you start winning long before the result shows up. You build confidence through consistency. You create momentum. You become the kind of person who follows through. So don't just dream about the destination. Design the path. Build the system. Live the process. Because the finish line doesn't make you a winner. The way you train, the way you commit, the way you show up each day. That's what does. The outcome is just a byproduct of the system you chose to build. We've been taught to aim high, to strive for excellence, to get it just right. And somewhere along the way, that pursuit of excellence got hijacked by perfectionism. We started to believe that if we couldn't do something perfectly, it wasn't worth doing at all. We started to believe that the first draft had to be flawless, that the first step had to look like the finish line, that anything less than ideal was failure. But that belief doesn't drive greatness. It kills it. Because perfectionism is not a standard. It's a prison. It paralyzes action. It convinces us that flaws are fatal instead of necessary. And it whispers the most dangerous lie of all, that if we mess up once, we might as well give up. Think about how many times you've started something with hope and energy only to hit one bump and suddenly question everything. You skip a workout, you miss a deadline, you eat the wrong thing, say the wrong thing, forget the thing you promised you'd do. And instead of seeing it as one moment in a bigger story, you let it define the whole journey. You say, I blew it, and you stop. But what if that mistake wasn't a set. What if it was simply a step? Progress doesn't come in perfect straight lines. It comes in zigzags. It comes in late nights and early mornings, in false starts and course corrections, in falling down and getting back up over and over again. It's messy. It's frustrating. It often feels like you're going nowhere when, in fact, you are learning exactly what you need to grow. But if you're only measuring perfection, you'll miss the miracle of that growth. There's this story about a ceramics teacher who divided his class into two groups. One would be graded on quantity, just make as many pots as you can. The other would be graded on quality, make one perfect pot. At the end of the semester, guess which group made the best pots? It wasn't the group focused on perfection, it was the group focused on repetition, on process, on practice. Because every imperfect pot taught them something. Every mistake refined their craft. Every failed attempt moved them closer to mastery. That's what progress looks like. It's not clean, it's not pretty, but it's real, and it works. The people who succeed don't always start better, they just keep showing up. They give themselves permission to be bad before they get good. They give themselves space to grow instead of demanding perfection from the very beginning. You don't need to be perfect to move forward. You just need to keep moving. Even if you stumble, even if it's slow, even if no one sees your effort but you, because every step you take, no matter how small, is building momentum. And momentum beats perfection every time. Start tracking your small wins. Celebrate them. Did you show up today even when you didn't feel like it? That's a win. Did you try something new, even if it didn't go as planned? That's a win. Did you get back up after falling? That's a win. Stack those wins. Let them remind you that you are not the mistake you made, you are the progress you're making. Because forward is forward. And in a world obsessed with perfect, the real power belongs to those who choose to keep going anyway. We live in a world that worships speed, quick results, overnight success, instant gratification. Everything is designed to be faster, faster food, faster service, faster progress. We've been conditioned to believe that if something doesn't happen quickly, it's not happening at all. But real success, the kind that lasts, doesn't happen in a flash. It happens over time. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. And if you're not willing to play the long game, you'll miss out on the most meaningful rewards life has to offer. The truth is, anything worth building takes time. Whether it's a career, a relationship, a business, or a healthier version of yourself, the process is long, often slow, and almost always uncomfortable. There are no shortcuts, no magic buttons, no secret formulas. And that's exactly why most people quit. They expect progress to come quickly, and when it doesn't, they convince themselves it's not working. They forget why they started. They start comparing their slow progress to someone else's highlight reel, and eventually they stop showing up. But growth doesn't announce itself with big, obvious signs. It happens quietly, slowly, under the surface. Like roots spreading through the soil before a tree breaks through the ground. You can't see it yet, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. Just because it's hard doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. In fact, the discomfort you feel is often the clearest sign that you're doing something right, that you're stretching beyond what's familiar, that you're growing. If it mattered to you last month, and it still matters to you today, then you owe it to yourself to keep going. Not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. Great goals aren't supposed to feel comfortable. They're supposed to challenge you. They're supposed to pull you into becoming something more than who you were when you began. Think about Olympic athletes. They don't train for a few weeks and expect a medal. They dedicate years, sometimes decades of their lives to a single event. Every day is about showing up, refining, recovering, repeating. No guarantee of victory, just the love of the pursuit. The same is true for entrepreneurs who build something from nothing. You don't launch a business and expect to be a household name in 6 months. You build brick by brick through failures, pivots, rejections, and sleepless nights. The ones who succeed aren't necessarily the most brilliant, they're just the most consistent. The long game isn't flashy, it doesn't always get applause, but it's where the magic happens. Because when you commit to the long game, you build something no one can take from you. You build resilience, you build character, you build a foundation that can withstand the pressure. So the real question isn't, am I there yet? The real question is, can I still show up for this, even if the results take longer than expected? Can you stay steady when progress is invisible? Can you trust the process when you're not getting immediate feedback? Can you stay patient when it would be so much easier to pivot or quit? That's the test. Not how fast you move, but how long you're willing to stay in the game. Because the best things in life, real love, deep impact, mastery, legacy, aren't rushed. They're built slowly, intentionally, and they're only built by those who choose to keep showing up day after day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. So if it still matters to you, don't give up. Be patient, stay focused, keep building. The long game always pays off, just not to those who quit early. We've come to believe that success belongs to the chosen few, the gifted, the talented, the ones with the perfect timing or the perfect background. We scroll through curated lives and think, maybe they just have something I don't. But that's not how it works. It's not about being extraordinary. It's not about being lucky. It's about where you put your attention, what you choose to focus on. Because in the end, it's not your talent or your circumstances that shape your future. It's your focus. You don't need to do everything. You don't need to be everything. You just need to focus on the right things, the things that matter, the things that create change from the inside out. That's where transformation begins, not in doing more, but in doing what matters most, over and over again. When you start by focusing on your why, everything changes. Your purpose becomes the compass that guides your decisions. It gives meaning to the hard days. It anchors you when motivation runs out. You stop chasing surface-level goals and start pursuing something deeper, something that lasts. And when the work gets tough, and it will, your why reminds you that the pain is part of the process, not a reason to quit. Then, you narrow your focus even further, one thing at a time, one priority, one commitment, one step forward. In a world that screams for your attention, the greatest power you have is the ability to block out the noise and do the one thing that moves you forward. Focus isn't about having superhuman discipline. It's about choosing not to divide yourself. It's about being all in on what matters right now. And then you stop chasing outcomes and start building systems. You let go of the fantasy that success happens in big leaps, and instead you embrace the daily rhythm of showing up. You build routines that support you. You create habits that move you toward your goal without relying on willpower alone. You understand that results don't happen because you want them. They happen because you build the kind of life that makes them possible. And when the pressure to be perfect creeps in, you choose progress instead. You celebrate the small wins. You forgive the missteps. You keep moving, even when the path is messy. Because real growth is never perfect. It's honest. It's flawed. It's full of lessons. And every imperfect step is still a step forward. And above all, you keep your eyes on the long game. You stop asking, how fast can I get there? And start asking, can I keep showing up until I do? You stop measuring success by speed and start measuring it by consistency. You realize that lasting change doesn't come from intensity. It comes from endurance, from the quiet, steady, faithful decision to keep going. This isn't about being superhuman. This is about being deeply human. This is about doing the hard work of becoming someone who doesn't give up at the first obstacle, someone who doesn't need applause to keep going, someone who knows that success isn't a moment, it's a lifestyle. It's not a goal you hit once. It's a person you become by how you live every day. You don't have to be lucky. You don't have to be extraordinary. You just have to focus. Focus on the things that matter most. Focus on your why. Focus on one thing at a time. Focus on building systems that serve you. Focus on progress over perfection. And never, ever take your eyes off the long game. Because if you do that, if you stay committed, stay grounded, stay focused, you won't just set goals. You won't just chase them. You'll crush them. Every single time. Thank you.